Hey, thanks for joining me. This is John Tessmer from APQC. I'm the manager of APQC's Open Standards Research, and I want to take just a few minutes today to talk to you about how organizations are applying the PCF to actually get some real business value out of this framework. Three main use cases I'd like to cover. First is benchmarking, second is content management, and third is process management. Without any further ado, let's get started. So when it comes to benchmarking, the best way to describe it is with an example. In this case, I've got three organizations, organization A, B, and C. These organizations want to compare the performance of their accounts payable process. But before they can do that, they first have to define what does accounts payable mean. Now, the way they typically do this is they talk to each other because they have confidential information they don't want to share or make public. So organization A will talk to B, B will talk to C, C will talk to A, and they will map each other's sort of processes together through some kind of convoluted way of doing things where they agree on just between two individual partners at a time what a particular process means. Now, I've used accounts payable, but you can imagine there's some more confidential processes that may require a little more secrecy there and may lend themselves to this kind of model. So with these three organizations, pretty simple. Three different steps to do the translation. Now, what happens if I add another organization? What happens if organization D wants to come in? Let's say after the first round of benchmarking has already happened. In this case, D has to play catch up and now has to map its process for accounts payable to organization A, B, and C's processes. So now there are 6 connections between these 4 different companies. This number grows according to a law called Metcalfe's law, which is represented with this formula. The number of organizations that are doing benchmarking, or according to Metcalfe's law, or a member of some particular network, grows like this: n times n minus 1 divided by 2. When it's a small number of companies that are a member of this sort of benchmarking network, the translations are relatively small. So 6, we could manage that. 10, 45 translations is starting to get a little complex. When you get into the scale of doing open standards benchmarking like we do here at APQC, we've got 10,000 companies participating in a benchmarking study or a course of benchmarking studies over the years. You have upwards of 49 million translations, nearly 50 million translations according to Metcalfe's law. That's a significant amount. It's not economically feasible to do that kind of translation. There has to be some kind of intermediary. So when you got a lot of organizations like we have here, all mapping down to some kind of connection down in the middle, we got to bring something else in. Let's bring in the PCF. PCF acts as a Rosetta Stone, as a common language. So now when we have organizations that want to do benchmarking, they map their own process to the PCF. The PCF acts as the sort of gold standard for what it means to do a particular process. In terms of accounts payable, you can very easily open up the PCF, find section 8, find all the particular parts of category 8 that you're looking for, and there's the definition. Now, if we add another person to this group, I don't have to map 10,000 times. The 10,000 in first person only has to map his processes or his organization's processes to the PCF, and now that mapping is done, they can do accurate comparisons and get apples to apples overviews of what's going on. Very powerful concept here in terms of benchmarking. Allows that apples to apples comparison, really makes benchmarking feasible, economically feasible, that is. Now, next main use case that we found organizations are using the PCF for is content management. Now, APQC is one to use its own tools, and we do use the PCF for content management here at APQC. If you have ever used our knowledge base, you have looked at documents that are categorized according to the PCF. Now, what does this mean for you? Let me give you a quick example. Let's say you hire someone new to your organization and you want to get them very quickly up to speed with a particular process. In most organizations, these documents have sort of collected over time. They might be in a series of repositories. Some may be in paper, some may be in binders, some may be in people's heads. Getting them all together and all organized by a unit of work that somebody actually does is a very difficult thing, not when you're using the PCF. If you use the PCF, you have already a vocabulary of what it means to do work at your organization, not how it's done. So your content isn't muddled by business rules and decision trees, but your content can actually be shown by what happens. So when you look at what happens in an organization, what does the organization do? It's in the PCF. When you start to assign content to those parts of the PCF, Then, when people want to understand what happens in a particular area, it's very intuitive for them to go and look at the PCF, find the piece they're looking for, drill down through the hierarchy, get right down to the part they want, and then boom, the content is there. As is shown here on the example, you can see I've searched for the word finance, and on the left-hand side, in the processes section, you can see all of the different areas that have content related to the word finance. So for example, here we have develop vision and strategy here, 161 documents in that section that are related to the word finance. Boom, just like that. Very easy, very quick. And again, all these documents, over 6,000 or 7,000 at last count, tagged according to the PCF here at APQC. Final use case I'd like to show you, it's very important, is process management. The process management use case, organizations are using the PCF to do process management all around the world. We've actually done 2 different research studies on this. First one back in 2009 was using process frameworks to get real work done. And then the last one finished up in 2011, which was building strong process management capabilities, actually 2012. So this research really showed how organizations take a PCF, take a framework, and apply it. You'll find most of them are using it for governance. Most of them want to be able to say, here is the framework that we're going to use to define our processes, who's doing this, what are the tools they're using, what are the systems, what are the applications, what are the processes. We also find that it's very valuable for organizations because when they're starting to do a process reengineering effort, it's always nice to have something to begin with, that you're not starting from scratch. And then, of course, the principle of inconveniencing everyone equally. If you get a whole bunch of people at the table that have their own preconceived notions about what should be done, they all want to push, push, push. Sometimes it's best just to say, look, I understand everyone has their own definition of what this means. Let's take a third party, neutral third party's example. Let's take the PCF and let's see if we can all agree on what this means. Everyone has to give up a little bit, but they all agree on some common framework. This allows them to do all kinds of mapping. There's all kinds of benefits, even going back to managing the content and doing the benchmarking activities once an organization manages their processes according to a framework like the PCF. Very powerful tool. If you have any more questions or you'd like to learn a little bit more about what it means to use the PCF to get real work done, highly recommend you check out these 2 research documents. They're available on APQC's knowledge base. Thanks a bunch. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.